Hello, my wonderful math students. So in this video, this is going to be your operations with integers practice test. And I'm going to do probably the first 9 questions in this video so that you could see them. Maybe I won't get to 9. We'll see. Okay, so on your practice test, this is question number 1, and we have to multiply. So when we go in to think about our multiplication, we have to think about those integer rules. Okay, so if you use your integer rule poster here, and you scroll on down, and right here, this is where we care about multiplication and division. Okay, so we just multiply like normal, and then it determines whether they have the same side, my answer is positive, or if they have different signs, my answer is negative. So we're just going to keep that in mind. So in this one, I do have the same signs here, so I definitely know that my answer is going to be positive. The only thing I have to do is just multiply like normal. So I'm going to multiply like normal. So it's probably been a while since you've done 2-digit multiplication. Okay, so we're going to do 2 times 2, which is 4. 2 times this 2, which is also 4. Now we're moving on to the 1, so we have to put a 0 in its placeholder. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2 again, and then we're going to add these together. 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6, and 2. And I know I'm going to keep this a positive 264 because my answers I both have the same sign. All right, so we might bounce around a little bit because I want to do multiplication, but we'll go in order. So now we are in subtraction. So now I have to start thinking again. So where is my subtraction rules? Okay, so subtraction, I need to keep, change, right? And once I do keep, change, then I use my addition rules. Okay, perfect. So these are my addition rules. So we have to do keep, change. So I'm going to keep the negative 55. I'm going to change this to a plus sign, and I'm going to change this to a positive 37. So once we have this, our addition rules tell us to find the difference between these numbers, and then the heavier number is going to hold that sign. So I do not know automatically the difference between 55 and 37, but difference just means subtraction. So I can figure out 55 minus 37. Oop, need to borrow. This turns into a 15. 15 minus 7 is 8, and 4 minus 3 is 1. All right, so our difference is 18. So now I have to determine is this a positive or a negative 18. So according to these two numbers, 55 is the heavier number. It has the greater absolute value, or it's the farthest away from 0. He's going to keep that sign. So because he's negative, my final answer should be a negative 18. All right, this is another subtraction problem, so I'm not going to pull up the keep, change rules again, but I am going to keep this. So I'm going to keep 32, change subtraction to a plus sign, and change negative 19 to a positive 19. So now all I'm looking at is just the number 32 plus 19. And we can add positive whole numbers. So we have 32 plus 19. 2 plus 9 is 11. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. So our answer is just 51. Okay, so now we're in addition. So this is very similar to how we did subtraction, except I don't have to do the keep, change. I just have to find the difference, and the stronger number takes the sign, or the one with the greater absolute value. So again, what that looks like is here. They have different signs. So I need to subtract the smaller from the larger, and then keep the sign with the larger absolute value. So we have to find the difference between 15 and 18. You can absolutely do this in your head. You probably know that there's the number 3 between the two. And then the heavier number, or the one with the greater absolute value, is 18. So because it's negative, my answer is going to be negative. So this is just a negative 3. All right, another addition problem. We're getting pretty good at these. So we need to find the difference between these two and then determine the sign. The difference between 16 and 27. Again, you could probably do this off the top of your head, but we can go ahead and do a quick subtraction problem to figure that out. All right, so 27 and then minus 16. Again, I put 27 first because it was a larger number. 7 minus 6 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So the difference between the two is the number 11. But I don't know, in order to determine if your final answer is positive 11 or negative 11, we have to look at these absolute values. 16 is 16 spaces away from 0. Negative 27 is 27 spaces away from 0. He's going to have a stronger pull. So this is going to be a negative 11. Question number 6. So we have addition, where it's the same thing, difference, and then heavy number takes the sign. So the difference between 21 and 33. Don't know this off the top of my head, so I'm going to do a quick subtraction problem to determine that. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. So my number is 12. So again, which of these is heavier or has the greater absolute value? Well, 33 does. So my answer is going to stay negative. We have negative 15 plus positive 8. So we're going to go ahead and find the difference between the two. I do already know that this is 7. 15 minus 8 is 7. Now to determine if it's positive or negative, 15 has the greater absolute value and it's negative. So that means my answer is going to be negative. This one is a little bit more complicated. It just takes some steps, okay? So we're going to go ahead and break it down into little tiny chunks. So I just want you to first focus on these first numbers. Ignore all the other ones. We're going to worry about them in a second, okay? These very first ones. So we have negative 7 minus negative 8. When we're looking at this, all we really care about is that keep, change, like normal. Again, ignore everything else, like pretend it doesn't exist. So we have negative 7, keep. We're going to change this to a plus sign and change that to a positive 8. So now we have negative 7 plus positive 8. The difference between the two is 1. And 8 is stronger or has the higher absolute value, so it's going to keep it positive. Now, I want you to bring down everything else. Just copy it just as is. Again, you're just taking this one tiny little step at a time. So now I want you to only look at the first two numbers again. Let's just do these first two. Just one tiny step at a time. Don't look at the whole thing, just one little step. Positive 1 plus negative 3. Opposite signs, so we're going to find the difference between the two, which is 2. And then 3 here has a higher absolute value, so it's going to keep that number negative. And then again, we're just going to bring down everything else. Okay, now let's just look at the the first two numbers here. Just care about negative 2 plus positive 6. So we're going to find the difference between the two, which is just the number 4. And then which one's more powerful? Well, this 6 is, and it's positive. So 4 is going to remain positive. Now I'm just going to bring down what's left. And then all we have is just 4 minus 2, which we can guess is 2. All right, so this one is kind of the same boat. I just want you to focus on one tiny little step at a time. So let's just worry about these numbers. Okay, now this one gets a little bit tricky because when you have a minus negative, these are going to change to a plus positive kind of thing. So please, if you see like a minus sign and then another minus sign right next to each other, assume that's just positive 1. So now we're only looking at these two numbers, positive 1 plus negative 7. So the difference between the two is 6. And then to determine which one has the higher absolute value, 7 does. So it's going to keep that 6 negative. So now we're going to bring down everything else. Plus 2 minus negative 4 minus negative 2. Okay, I didn't have to do math, I was just copying. So now let's look at the next step, just these two numbers. Negative 6 plus positive 2. The difference between these two is the number 4. -6 is more powerful, so it's going to keep it negative. Now I'm just going to bring down everything else. Okay, let's just look at these front two numbers again. We don't care about anything else. Don't get overwhelmed. So we have -4 minus -4. So when we have something like this, now we're talking subtraction, so we have to go to our subtraction rules, and that's the keep, change, change. So I'm going to keep -4, change this to a positive, change this to a positive 4. So now we have -4 plus positive 4. The difference between the two of them is 0. And 0 is neither negative nor positive, so he doesn't get to take a sign at all. Now I'm just going to bring everything else down. So now we have 0 minus -2. This is a subtraction, so that should bring into your mind keep, change, change. So we're going to keep the 0, change this to a plus sign, change -2 to a positive 2. Now all we have is 0 plus 2, and that's just 2. So it looks really complicated, but only look at two numbers at a time and just go in order from left to right like you would read a book. All right, this is probably the last one we're going to do in this video, and then we'll do the other 10 in another one. So these are products. When you see the word product, means multiply. And again, you're going to tackle this the exact same way that you tackled the addition problem. Just look at the first two at a time. So this case, I'm just looking at these two. This is 5 times -3. I don't even care about the rest of the equation. So we have 5 times -3. So according to our multiplication rules, multiply as normal. Perfect. 5 times 3 is 15. And then they have opposite signs or different signs, which means your answer has to be negative. And now I'm just going to bring down this times -2. Now this is easy. Now we just have -15 times -2. Multiply as normal. 15 times 2 is 30. My signs are the same, which means my answer is going to be positive. All right, and there will be another video where I'll go through questions 11 through 20.